As you may know, TNAnews.com has a new series titled #TNA News Books Impact, where the lead editor of TNAnews.com, Alex Berry, writes the script for TNA Wrestling's Impact Wrestling each week. Alex has been releasing Impact Wrestling scripts for 4 weeks now, and these scripts are showing quite a difference from what he would produce on the show and what TNA is actually airing. Obviously, we can compare apples and oranges all day long on which segment, which decision, etc. is better, but that is not what the series is about. The goal of the series is to show what else can be done on Impact Wrestling. Alex Berry wrote scripts for wrestling shows from 2008 into 2010, so when he brought TNA News Books Impact to the forefront, he wanted to show what he could do with the talent involved. Not only that, he wanted to see what he could come up with. When you compare his script to what is actually going on with Impact Wrestling, you can see that Alex's show is based heavily on story and where everything that happens on the show has a purpose. I'll get into that a little bit later, but there are two main things that have to be pointed out from the November 5th, 2014 show. First off, let's make one thing clear. Tournaments in wrestling absolutely have a purpose. There's no doubt about that. The classic example is WWE's King of the Ring. There's a purpose for the tournament and a reward which can create a story as well as really develop a character well into the future. As we saw on Impact, they had their tag team tournament. Again, tournaments are great, but there's really two things that come from a tournament, and that's a title or a name, like King of the Ring or a championship shot. In TNA's tag team tournament, they had the Hardys and are going to face the Wolves. Let's just state this. Why the Hardys? They faced the Wolves before, and the Wolves proved their dominance. Yes, the Hardys are great, but do they need to rub the Wolves in even more? I think it's proven how great the Wolves are. Now, from last week, they went ahead and pushed the Revolution and pretty much sidetracked the Hardys. I don't particularly have a problem with this per se, but don't you think it would have made more sense to heavily push a story between the Wolves and the Revolution instead of the tag team tournament? Imagine how great the story would be if they did it that way. Stories sell. Keep that in mind. In Alex's booking script, he had Samoa Joe and Low Ki winning the tag team tournament, and it's real simple as to why he did, to start a story between the two. The X Division needs a story. The X Division needs focus, and anyone who thinks the division is great or even gaining momentum is delusional. There's nothing in the division right now. Alex makes it clear that he would have Low Ki stare Joe and the X Division championship down. He would have Low turn on Joe in their match with the Wolves to set up a story. There needs to be a personal, emotional, and intriguing story that gets people's attention. Face it, matches don't make people watch more. On last week's Impact, Samoa Joe surrendered the X Division Championship, and the company announced it will be Low Ki versus DJZ versus Manic versus Tigre Uno for the X Division Championship. Really? Really? Are you kidding me? When was the last time we saw Tigre Uno? How did DJZ get the opportunity? There's no reasoning to this match. When Samoa Joe won the X Division Championship, I remember people stating that the X Division would get a makeover and there will be a huge focus on it. Months later, what happened? Absolutely nothing. It's time for the TNA bias community to open their eyes and really understand what's going on. Now getting back to matches and how they don't make people watch more. When I'm talking about people, I mean the casual wrestling fans. Let's break it down. TNA has their core audience. Their audience is around 1 million a week. Apparently, they think that's good enough. Apparently, that's all they thrive for. Apparently, they don't care to grow their viewership. They hit around the same number every week, and they must be completely fine with that. If they are fine and don't want to improve, then I guess everybody else has to be fine because they don't want to grow. At any rate, they have their audience that's going to watch no matter what. Now, they got to get new viewers. The casual viewing audience. The casual viewing audience does not care about wrestling matches. Get that through your heads. They don't care about tournaments. Sure, you can say that they care about March Madness or the tournament in the playoffs from the NFL, MLB, or NHL, but why should they care about a tournament that has a predetermined wrestling matches? Really, the only thing to watch is the finals to see who wins, and even that will not make them watch in the future. People love stories. Why do you think people read books? Why do you think people tell legend tales around the campfire? Why are shows like The Walking Dead getting 15 million viewers? It's the story. People love to ask, what's going to happen next? People love to say, I can't wait to see what is going to happen next week. In this day and age, people have short attention spans. That's pretty clear to see with all of the technology around. However, if they are interested in something, if they find something they are truly invested in, they will pay attention. They will watch. They will stick to it. That's why people play video games. To start from the beginning, to go all the way to the end, it has their attention. There's a reason why shows go into 7 to 9 seasons, because people are paying attention from season to season. If you really look at it, our lives are nothing but a long story. Let me ask you these questions. How would you react if your boss tells you that you didn't get the promotion? How would you react if the car salesman says he won't sell you the car that you really, really, really want? How would you react if you went to Subway and wanted cheddar cheese on your hoagie, but the worker behind the counter said no? I think we all will ask the simple question, why? I would like to know why. I'm sure you would like to know why. I want an explanation. I want a reason. What would happen if they don't give you an answer? What would happen if they don't give you a reason? I'm pretty sure you would get upset, angry, furious. Maybe you might start yelling, and maybe you might throw things. Let me break this down for you. There needs to be a reason. There needs to be an explanation. That needs to happen in life and in the wrestling. No excuses. If wrestling has to be taken seriously, if wrestling has to be looked at as a real show on television, then they need to start making it like real life. They need reality. They need to make it realistic. It's not rocket science. At the end of Impact Wrestling last week, they announced that Austin Aries will face Lashley. How in the bloody world did that come about? Why should the casual viewer tune in to watch that? Now, I would have thought that they would have set up the match at the beginning of last week's Impact Wrestling. That's what Alex had to do in hashtag TNA News Books Impact. But no. They made the match about halfway through the show. That's laziness. I'm not going to wake up tomorrow and say, I'm going to buy a car today. Life isn't like that. You have to do research. You have to look around. You have to see what's available. That's the same thing as Austin versus Lashley. You aren't going to say, I'm going to watch that with a straight face. Time is money, and your time will be spent on watching that without a strong build. Imagine if a story started and stopped in 1 week. Television doesn't work like that. This kind of situation is what is embarrassing to the wrestling industry. You look at the wrestling industry and you see their viewership continues to plummet every single year. You then have the wrestling companies wonder why. Well, maybe they are wondering. You have the wrestling companies go in a direction that really doesn't even make sense. TNA, pure wrestling, really. You produce shows with nothing but pure wrestling and continue to have matches with no build, and you wonder why your viewership is under 1 million, and you wonder why Spike TV isn't willing to pay you more money for your show. During last week's Impact Wrestling, Alex wrote on the open thread on WrestlingNewsWorld.com that he would be surprised if Impact gets 1 million viewers this week. The numbers were released, and behold, it was under 1 million. Alex wasn't surprised, and you shouldn't be either. Did TNA honestly think they would get over 1 million viewers for a show like that? The show that had meaningless matches. The beautiful people in the bromance versus the menagerie. Seriously, who will watch that? Why should we watch that? There's no reason. There's absolutely no interest in it. It meant nothing. Let's not forget how Lashley vs. Aries, the main event of the show, was announced halfway through the show. Remember the times when the main event for shows were announced a week in advance because of the build of the story? Or 2 weeks in advance. It seems crazy. It seems like it's from a different galaxy, but it happened. This week is the last taped Impact Wrestling of the year. And by the looks of it, we may have to be surprised if the show receives 1 million viewers. I understand the viewership for the show has been growing in the past couple of weeks, ever so slightly, but don't you think the show should receive at least 1 million? Of course you do. Don't lie. The show should honestly be seen by over 1 million viewers. It isn't. With this being the last taped Impact Wrestling of the year, the interest will fade away. the attention will slowly dissolve. TNA's core audience will still be there. They're always there, but the casual viewers of whoever is left will slowly dissipate. They will slowly fall into TNA's past. At the end of the day, it all falls on TNA's hands. I'm not here to attack, insult, or assault TNA Wrestling by any means. They need to succeed. Everyone should want them to succeed. I'm not even here to verbally praise hashtag TNA News Books Impact, as that is subjective and everyone has their own opinion. And don't get this wrong. This is certainly an opinion, but let's not forget the fact that numbers actually don't lie. There's a reason why shows with stories receive high viewerships. There's a reason why realistic television sells. Wrestling shows haven't been wrestling shows in decades because that's not what will grow the product. If Dixie Carter and John Gaborik want to increase their viewership in the United States, as they say they want to, they need to realize what the television business is all about. But if they don't care to grow, then I certainly don't care either. It is up to them. Until next time, TNAnews.com.